that's what's really drawn me into modern dance, is that it kind of comes out of a more maybe organic place from inside.
Welcome to the Dance Maker podcast, presented by Small Plates Choreography Festival. In this series, we engage in inspiring conversations with choreographers within the Small Plates network, whose work has been showcased in our performances. Small Plates Choreography Festival is a curated dance performance series dedicated to dance makers at all stages of their choreographic journeys. We curate and produce concert dance through an open application process, highlighting distinct, uncommon, and relevant short dance works and performances in several different cities each year. Our goal is to be a platform for dance makers to amplify their voices and their visibility, and to create a lively interface between artists and audiences that explores the creative process and the intent behind each dance. In this podcast, we will dive into conversations with the talented choreographers of Small Plates, discussing what draws them to dance, their creative processes, and their artistic journeys. Hi, I'm Michele Painter. I'm a dance artist and choreographer with a passion for the transforming nature of dance. I hold a Master of Fine Arts degree from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. I'm a founding member of Haven Movement Company, and I'm also a curator, administrator, and assistant director for Small Plates Choreography Festival. As a dance artist, I enjoy creating spaces for powerful movement expression and thought-provoking choreography. To be a dance maker is to be a joy maker, a culture maker, and a meaning maker. So, join me as we discover how choreographic work comes to life through the eyes of the artists of Small Plates, and learn where you can engage further with them and with their performances. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Dance Makers podcast. I'm here with Emily Green, a dancer and choreographer. Emily recently performed a solo that she choreographed in our 2024 Small Plates Choreography Festival performance in Newburgh, New York. Emily studied dance and computer science at Connecticut College and has performed works throughout the DC metro area in Northern Virginia, and she's currently located in the DC metro area. And today we're going to get to know Emily a little more and how her brain works around her creative process. So let's dive into it. Welcome, Emily. It's great to have you here.
Nice to speak to you again.
And me and Emily met a few times at the choreography festivals, but I haven't had the chance to sit down and get to really know Emily, so I'm excited to do this today. So, Emily, how did you even get started dancing, and how did that journey begin for you?
Yeah, I think I had a pretty common backstory I had an older sister. And an activity we were both put into as little kids was the ballet tap combo classes, as a way to socialize us and give us an activity after school. And I just kept enjoying dance and wanting to do more of it. And so I grew up starting with ballet and tap. And then, it turned into a competition dance studio, and I was doing clogging and jazz and hip hop, and maybe not well, but we were competing and we were trying new things and pushing ourselves to experiment and see what other people were doing. But then when I was in high school, I had some teachers come in. Jessie Naff, Christina Thompson, and Liza Deck were some really influential people in my life who got me into more modern dance, and kind of I love the performance quality, and competition dance is all about performance and energy, but then also kind of getting into modern dance where it's not all about athletic feats all the time or how high your leg is, but there can be more meaning and experimentation. And so I'm really grateful that I got to start having those experiences in high school. And that's what led me to pursue dance in college.
The modern dance kind of gave you an outlet to express yourself personally.
Yeah, I would say, all dance is very expressive. But I feel like the ability or like the acceptance more of just being weird or, not being perfect all the time, that I feel like modern dance can kind of give people more of an outlet for. That was really valuable of, it's not necessarily about technical excellence all the time. There can be more of like, how did this movement arrive out of a feeling or out of an idea? That's what's really drawn me into modern dance, is that it kind of comes out of a more maybe organic place from inside.
So it kind of like puts you in touch with yourself and helps you learn about yourself too, in my experience. Being able to explore your own unique movement styles, which is often a combination of things you've learned along the way, and then you kind of make it your own at some point. I think modern dance is a great platform for that. And I kind of saw that in your piece that we'll discuss in a little bit. So early on, like, how's your choreographic process, like, how has it evolved over time? Like, from maybe the first piece you choreographed to now, like, and as you're getting older and things like that, has it evolved at all?
I would say the key way it's evolved is finding the balance between fully setting movement and having like this vision and goal of this is how the dance is going to play out before I start the process. And now kind of trusting myself more. And I really value the collaboration aspect, especially when I'm working with other dancers in the space, of letting it be more of this is my vision and we're going to work together to kind of how can we make this dance with our bodies in the space at this time? And then when new collaborators come in, that's inevitably going to change how the piece moves, and really embracing how like that individuality makes, these beautiful new moments happen. And so I think, growing up, you have more of an idea of I create a piece and then I teach it to people, and that's the process. And so now I would say I'm more collaborative in that, I can see these moments happening, but we might build them together, or we might try a few different mechanisms to create the same kind of pathways.
That's beautiful. So there's an element of spontaneity that happens and kind of just going with the flow, right? Have you ever experienced like a piece kind of taking on a life of its own, and at some point you have to kind of just step aside and go with the flow of whatever's happening?
I think so. I think a little bit of that happens every piece. I'm always trying to, shift it and maybe push different elements and finding new ways to maybe clarify what I'm saying or what I'm doing. And so to a degree, like, especially whenever like maybe it's a new performance opportunity or a new collaborator comes in, how is this going to evolve now that it's different energy in the space, or maybe different space limitations or something like that. So I think a little bit of that happens every time we're able to get back together.
I know it's one of my favorite things that happens in the choreographic process is when it's like, it kind of just like starts to do its own thing, and it can be uncomfortable, but I just think it's so cool. It's like, okay, this piece is kind of like coming to life, and it's kind of going beyond like my concept, so I'm just gonna go with it. And it's just always interesting to see where it goes. And sometimes it's like, are you expected? And sometimes it's like, okay, well, this is different. But I find it to be like such a vulnerable art form because it's like your body that is the medium for the most part, so how you're feeling, and it's very fleeting. So it's like live performance happens in the moment. And so it's like how you're feeling that day. If you have something bothering you in your body, that can really change each performance, and I feel like each performance, even if it's, technically the same piece, it's like a different piece each time you perform it. And then it's done, it's over. So it's very fleeting. What has your experience been with that? Because I mean, there is kind of like this mourning process you have to go through because you put so much work into the process, and then the performance happens, and then it's like done. And there's video of it, but then it's a video.
Yeah.
It's not actually a live performance anymore.
Yeah, I feel like I went through that, especially this for this performance in Newburgh. I was bringing back a solo that I first made in college. And so I guess performing that, I think it's 2013, 2014 versus 2024. There's been some changes in my body and my mobility since dancing every day in college to, being 10 years older with a 9-to-5 desk job and, some different situations. And so it was a bit of a mental battle of like, how did I move through these turns and these pivots in such a graceful way? Some of the movement didn't feel like my current, safe space, improv movement pathway. And so it was interesting struggle to like find a place for this solo in my current body, and maybe find some new ways to bring life into it to match what my body needs now. But then also for the performance aspect, I feel like we just really have to like hold on to that like performance high of like how, even if there's nerves to begin with, like, oh, this felt so amazing to do. And then also just, I think I'm someone who just has to always look to the future of like, okay, when do I get to do this again? And like, when can I make another opportunity to get to this feeling again?
The solo that you performed in Newburgh, and you said you made it in college initially. So what is the motivating factors behind Blue? Like, how did it come into creation,
I think so. I believe I started on it in my junior year of college. And I was at a point where, I feel like I'd been in the academic dance scene for long enough and been in some composition classes where I had been making work, but this felt like, a big step of like, I'm putting myself on display here and like also putting my, auditioning my work to potentially be cut and given very constructive feedback and, a little bit of putting my like dance dreams out there to see what people thought about them. And I also felt like I was kind of coming into my own more as a adult human being, and like feeling confident in who I was presenting myself as a person and in my own identities. And so it just felt like, trying to be a little cheeky and also trying to push myself, but also just like, what is Emily right now when they're dancing on stage? And so that's kind of what I really found influence in the music from, I think, Booker T and the MGs. But then also just like the general energy is like, who am I as I step onto this stage as a solo? And like, how do I want to present that?
Well, really interesting that you chose to perform it 10 years later. I can see where it would be like this brand new piece almost, especially if that was the motivation behind it, saying like, who am I today? I step on stage with this piece. I mean, you went into it a little bit, but like, is there anything in particular that you discovered that's new about yourself 10 years later, like in performing that piece? Anything that made you think like, wow, I've grown a lot in this area, or anything like that?
I feel like, especially the performance venue for Small Plates Newburgh, there's a lot of proximity to the audience, and I feel like what I struggled with when I was younger, and what I've been working through as as I get older, is as much as is honing my performance. Basically, I have a tendency to have a resting angry face sometimes when I'm trying to be very cool and collected. And with this proximity of, finding moments of eye contact and maybe some flirting or some cheekiness, just to kind of bring myself out of my, stoic kind of angry looking demeanor that happens by accident. And really just trying to it makes you be more in the moment, even more so, of like, I'm not just thinking of, having a nice performance as myself in my body. I'm involving other people in the performance as well. So I think that was one of the discoveries, and it was kind of nice just being so close to people, that really kind of reinforced that feeling. When I did reach out to people, they were there and I could get the energy back.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. For anybody listening, the Small Plates performances mostly happen in pretty intimate venues. So it's a little different than performing like on a traditional concert stage. Yeah, the experience of connecting with the audience is pretty right there in front of you, and you can choose to do it or not. And yeah, so I mean, you seemed like, I was at the performance and you seemed like you were really enjoying connecting with the audience. And I definitely saw moments of you doing that. And do you think you would have been able to do that on a traditional concert stage, where there's kind of that, you don't really see the audience because the lighting is so bright and stuff on a traditional stage. So you kind of have to like connect with the audience in your own little bubble in a way, and just hope that you're getting through to them. I don't know, the first time you performed it, was it less intimate of a space?
Yes, I think those performances were mostly proscenium style, where there is that, like, you're staring into a void where there's some people, but you can't really connect with them. So yeah, I can't remember exactly how I felt the first times performing it in college in that space, but I did appreciate now the older Emily, who is like more aware of it and like seeking that like connection, and being able to see it so directly. That was nice.
And I think it's probably a reflection of who you are now, like 10 years later, more mature and more able to connect with people maybe on a deeper level more easily. I feel like with the current just climate of the world, I feel like connection is a really important aspect, just humans connecting. I mean, I'm really glad that you were able to make that connection during your performance at Small Plates, and I'm appreciating more than ever that, Small Plates does these intimate venues. Do you feel like you're seeking out more of these smaller venues now, just in general as a choreographer? Or are you just kind of like open to anything? Or
I'll be honest, I'm open to anything, because, I'm not going to turn down opportunities. But I really, especially with recent works, I really value more of the black box or small venue style, where audience members are on the floor and like on the same level as the performers. I feel like, especially in most of the work I create, there's more of like humans on stage versus let me show you my art on a platform and just observe it and watch it. I like the interaction and I like the human connection that can happen. And I think just having bodies closer to the performers, I think that just really helps the exchange of energies, because it's not just about the people putting out energy in the dance space. It's about, are they able to kind of energize each other? And are you excited about it and actively engaged as an audience member?
We had 2 different performances for the Newburgh show. Yeah, and it's interesting because it's like each audience has its own energy it's putting out.
Mm-hmm.
And it does, in that small, intimate space, kind of inform the performers as well and change the dynamic a little bit. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it's just like each audience is kind of different,
Yeah.
And you can feel it when it's in a small space like that. And you respond to it naturally as a performer. We're going to watch Blue soon. And I just have one more question about it. How was it creating, because choreographers talk differently about this, but performing your own work when you're choreographing on other people, you have that, you can step away from it and watch it objectively because it's not personal. I found when I'm doing solos, it's kind of hard to give myself feedback. I just kind of have to trust my intuition and maybe videotape myself and watch it, or let somebody else watch it for feedback. But even then, the video is only from one angle. So, how do you navigate that when you're performing your own choreography?
I feel like social media has helped me a little bit, but I used to really dislike watching myself, especially on video. And then, in 2020, when everything went remote, it kind of, social media and like sharing yourself on video kind of became the only way to, share if you were making art or even if you were still dancing. And so it has helped. It's still a struggle, but I would say I start focusing on what feels more natural in my body and what is feeling good to perform or feeling right. And then as I work through those sections, I'll watch it on video and be like, how is this actually reading as something that will be viewed by outside people eventually. And so I would say it's pretty incremental, but I've had to get over my fear of watching myself on video to help clean that process. And then it's been helpful eventually bringing in some outside opinions and some supporters who can give me some helpful feedback that will maybe spark some questions for me to explore, or can help me, say what I'm trying to say with the movement, and then see if it read that way. Yeah, always an outside eye is helpful.
Okay, let's take a look at the piece then. So the title is Blue. The music is Green Onions and Time is Tight. There's 2 pieces of music in it, and they're by Booker T and the MGs.
Are you enjoying the Dance Maker podcast? Please share it on your social media channels. Like, subscribe, leave a review, do all the things to help us reach more dance makers, dance enthusiasts, and audiences. If you're interested in Small Plates Choreography Festival, there are many ways to get involved with our shows. You can apply to present work. You can support us by coming to one of our performances or watching a live stream. And you can also support us financially. Small Plates is fiscally sponsored by Fractured Atlas, and so your support is tax deductible. Please check our website, smallplatesdance.com, for open applications, links to purchase tickets, and to donate. Be sure to join our email list to receive notices about new podcast episodes application deadline reminders, and announcements about new shows and events. See you at Small Plates.
I'm just curious, have you watched that video yet?
I think I watched it maybe a few months ago. And so it's like, I don't know, rewatching it again later, it's like, oh yeah, like that's how I redid it in 2024.
Yeah, I know sometimes like the videos will get sent to me after performances and I won't even watch them.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like it is kind of difficult as a dancer to watch yourself on video sometimes for whatever reason and just enjoy the performance. You know, you have like a different mindset when you're looking at yourself dancing. So how was that for you watching the video?
I'm like reminded again of like the space. And I like remember, you know, again, redoing the piece in my body and also in the smaller, like more of a square configuration. I think it helped me relive parts of it. Of like, oh, I gotta not kick someone in the face, you know, like it was nice to see more of my like enjoyment. And like I kind of felt a bit of like a Pavlovian response to some parts where I was like, I know this is where I'm having this experience or reaction. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I remember during, especially the second performance, which I think this is because I can tell it's dark outside. I noticed you just seemed like you were having a lot of fun doing the piece. There's a lot of interesting, it's a very dynamic piece as far as the movement. And you use repetition a lot. You use it in like a really effective way, I think. I mean, it's not like boring or anything. It's like in a rhythmic way. And so was there any thinking behind doing that? Or did it just kind of, was it a response to the music? Or what was your thinking behind using repetition in that way?
Yeah, I think originally it started because of the music. I think, especially coming back to it later, I'm like, wow, I kind of made my own movement vocabulary. But I really like the use of repetition in my work for kind of calling back and kind of, I like the idea of the audience feeling like they're in on the piece, like they can recognize something and they can feel maybe more attached to it, or maybe they didn't like it and they're annoyed by it. But then there's still just like another nugget that the audience can connect to the piece with, and also just repetition or the breakdown of pattern is really important to me. And so I definitely made use of that throughout the piece of just how does the movement change within kind of the same pattern or rhythm.
That's really cool. And again, you're coming back to like helping the audience connect. So there's that idea of connection again. And for me anyway, stylistically, you definitely made it your own, but some of the movements reminded me of like social dance moves from like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And that went with the music as well. But they were totally like in your own style, but it was just kind of like this reminiscence of like, made me think of like the disco or something, which I wasn't really alive in the 70s, but yeah, it reminded me of that. And did you draw intentionally inspiration from those time periods?
Not intentionally, but I think just the energy of the piece and like the influence of the music, I wanted a little bit of that kind of like hip shaking, like, you know, this isn't all like, you know, sliding on my knees and kicking my leg. There's like a little bit of a groove that's influencing most of the movement. And I think especially like using my hips or maybe my shoulders just kind of helped me tap back into, you know, this is a performance and this isn't just like, I don't know, this is kind of a groove and like a performance that's fun and also maybe not necessarily set in a theater. maybe it's kind of coming out of my brain in some made up nightclub or something like that.
Yeah, totally. That's really cool. And it almost felt like, and then again, I think the space probably informed this a little bit, but it felt like you were telling a story, but like in a casual way. Like it didn't have this like formal kind of stance to it that some dances might. The feeling I got from it was like, I'm just like we're sitting in a group together and you're like just telling this like story about like, oh, I went out the other night with friends and it was, we did this and this. And so it had that kind of vibe to it for me. Is that something you were going for, or?
I want everyone to see it and maybe experience it differently.
Yeah.
I would say, I think I personally go on a journey through it. And that might be more basic of just, I start as trying to be cool and casual and maybe a little direct. But I definitely feel myself embracing the fun and embracing the joy in it, and bringing back some of those patterns throughout the piece. When I'm really hanging on to it, it feels like a little bit more, there's ego in the beginning, and then there's a bit more of a open sharing at the end. So that's kind of the journey I feel like I go on. From inside.
Yeah.
You're
definitely having fun when you're doing it. I noticed you did like some use of pausing and doing like more gestural movements. That happened a few times, and it was always like this kind of like unexpected moment. That kind of added to the fun of it. It was like playful pause, and you like fixed your hair or something, and then went back to, cooking, And was that part of the choreography, or just like a play that you kind of added in? It seemed intentional, but is it something that you kind of played up a little more for this particular performance, or what was your thought behind that?
Yeah, I'm always trying to push myself to find more of those moments as a choreographer. Making go movement can come very easily, and making the moments that maybe have more stillness or have more gesture to them, I would say I'm more insecure about, or I'm like, will this have the same impact? And so in this piece, it's finding those moments of stillness where I feel like it is jarring, and like, finding the right balance of, is it jarring if I'm stuck there for X many seconds, or is it just if I just like pause the momentum and like make eye contact? And it changes a little bit with each performance, I think, just especially like what is that connection? What is the energy like? But yeah, exploring that more with this performance.
Yeah, I really thought you used that really well. And I noticed, like, I don't know if you noticed in the video, but like a couple of times when you did that, it like actually exaggerates the kind of like flirtiness and fun. You just like stop suddenly. The music is still going. A couple of the audience members kind of giggled about it. It made it even more exaggerated, the playfulness. But I thought you were really successful in how you used that in this performance. And I did notice, having been present for both the shows, you did use it slightly different. There's like subtle differences in how you would like look at the audience, or that's one of the really fun things about performing for an audience like this. And thought you took advantage of that really well. Anything else that you had to say about the piece, or in general?
Yeah, I just really appreciated the opportunity to show the work in Newburgh, and get to see that performance space and work with the Small Plates team again. It was really special, like just like that limited audience, like our ability to do the show twice. And I feel like the the connection to people backstage, it really like fostered a really lovely environment where people were able to watch each other's works, and, you know, kind of exchange a little bit of feedback and talk back afterwards. So that it just felt like for being a little like scared of like, can I bring this piece back, you know, 10 years later and feel confident about it and confident about my performance abilities. It felt like a very safe and warm and exciting space to do it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we try to do with Small Plates is give the dancers opportunity to give each other feedback and then also talk with the audience afterwards. So it's more of a casual, kind of intimate setting. And we kind of had a meet and greet for this one. The show we had so many great dances in this show. And so instead of doing like an official Q&A, because the show was kind of long, we just had like a meet and greet. And I saw so many dancers and audience members interacting with each other. And I'm glad to hear that you appreciated that and like gained some valuable feedback and stuff from that. Where can we find you today? Like, what are you up to? Like, do you have any performances coming up, or what are you doing right now?
It's an exciting time. It's a time of change. I've been working on a project I call Macho Huzzah. That is, I'm working with women and non-binary performers in the DC metro area. And we're kind of exploring machismo and exaggerated confidence. And, you know, exploring performance of gender a little bit in this work. And we're performing a few sections at Dance Place's New Releases show, May 3rd and 4th. So about a month away. And so we're performing those sections, and we're hoping to do an evening length work in the future. And then I am getting ACL reconstruction surgery. So I am going to be off of my leg for a little bit, but then I'll be back.
Yeah, that's a big recovery, but I know a lot of people that have done that and they come back. So
Yeah.
I'm confident you'll come back and
yeah.
But yeah, that's really interesting. So you're working with this idea of gender in performance. And that's a topic of interest to me personally as well, too. Something I've been thinking about, like, how could I do that in choreography? And I'm excited to hear more in the future about your work there. And yeah, it's been really great talking to you today. Do you have like an Instagram or a website or anything where people can kind of connect with you professionally?
Yes, you can connect with me on Instagram at Emmy_Green. So EMI_GREENN. And we'll put that in the notes somewhere, I guess. And then our Macho Huzzah project is on Instagram as well at macho_huzzah_dance.
Are you teaching any classes? I mean, I know you're having surgery soon, but are you teaching any classes anywhere?
I'm dancing with Dance Art Theater under the direction of Meredith Barnes, and I am hoping to start teaching some pop-up classes in the DC area, but we'll see in the future.
All right. Well, it's been lovely having you today. Thank you so much for being part of the podcast. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Michelle. It was nice talking to you again.
Yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Dance Maker podcast, sponsored by Small Plates Choreography Festival. Be sure to support this podcast by liking, subscribing, and sharing with a friend or on your social media channels, or by leaving us a review. That really helps us expand our reach. To learn more about Small Plates Choreography Festival, please visit our website, www.smallplatesdance.com, where you can apply to be one of our performances. Be sure to also sign up for our newsletter and be the first to hear about new shows, get reminders about application deadlines, and of course, we will also let you know each time a new podcast episode drops. We rely on your financial support. If you would like to support Small Plates with a tax-deductible donation, please donate through our fiscal sponsor, Fractured Atlas. The link to donate can be found on our website and in the show notes for this podcast. Until next time, fellow dance makers, happy creating.